Welcome to Casual Tech Review. In this video, I'm going to talk about how you can get started PC flipping as a side hustle on your own. I'll explain my entire process for how I pick out parts, get parts, negotiate deals, put them together, test them, get them listed for sale, as well as 5 tips that will really help you start your PC flipping journey. Lastly, I have a real doozy of a clown of Facebook Marketplace. You will not believe what this guy's doing. So let's jump right into how do you actually get started. In my last video, which I'll throw a card up in the corner here on that one, I went into a little bit more detail about the first 6 months of my journey flipping PCs and how exactly I did it. So that's not the purpose of this video to go over that. So in really short strokes, I think there's 2 ways that you can get started funding your side hustle of flipping PCs. You can do it the way that I did, where you take an old computer or some old parts that you have, update it if you need to, sell it, and then use that money to buy the parts for your next flip, and so on and so forth. I've sold 13 PCs at this point, and I've only put about $250 of new money in, and I've made almost $2,000. So that's pretty good. You do have to understand that it will take time to build up the money to be able to do more things or do more than one build at a time, because you're not introducing new money in, but it is a very cost-controlled way of doing it. The second way that you can do it is throw a bunch of new money at it. Buy a bunch of parts, buy things as they come up, flip them and sell them. There's a guy in my local area who appears to be doing that, and he's moving a lot of volume, but he's also putting a lot of new money into his PC flipping. So both equally valid ways of doing it. You just have to pick the way that works for you. So I've gotten multiple questions from people, various comments on other videos asking specifically about how to actually flip PCs for profit. You can see this young man here wants to start a good side hustle and wants some advice on how to get started. This guy right here says he's having a little bit of trouble selling. He's looking for some tips. And this guy here asks about how to handle the operating system. So I'm going to walk through my entire process of everything I've learned and what I do now in order to buy all the parts, identify what I want, put it together, test it, and then get it sold on Marketplace. So the first thing that I do is I want to identify what is the ideal sale price range that I want for this computer. And the way I do that is I get on Facebook Marketplace and I look at what are gaming PCs selling for right now. What are other people buying? You can also take a look at the hardware that's in them to give you an idea of where you want to aim. Do you want to try to one-up people and offer something a little bit better for the same price? You can offer more storage space or a better graphics card. These are decisions that you can make looking at what other things are selling for. Additionally, I take direct feedback from people that I talk to. They'll tell you exactly how much they're looking to spend. You can see here, here, and here, $500 to $700 is the sweet spot. So now that I know what I want my target sale price to be, where I'm trying to fit into the market, I'm going to look for the range of parts that will fit that. So if I'm looking for something around the $700 range, I'm going to go right back into my comfort zone. I'm going to be looking for an AMD Ryzen 5 3600 and a 2070 Super. Those work for me. I can usually get anywhere around $650 sale price for a system like that, as long as it looks good and performs good, and that's going to match up really well compared to other $650 to $700 computers in my local area. If you're going to shoot for something different, just make sure that you have a good idea of what kind of parts you're looking for before you just start buying stuff. So once I identify exactly what I want my budget to be, I'm going to look for my CPU and my GPU. Like I said, the 3600 and 2070 Super are a great start, but I use spreadsheets to plan out my builds and really help me be very organized to make sure that I don't end up with 3 graphics cards and no processors. I want to be very, very organized. So you can see over here, I've got this spreadsheet set up and all the different parts that I might need for a build. So this is currently speccing out a 12100F and a 1660 Super build. So I'll put in the part, I'll put in the cost that I've paid for it or what I hope to pay for it if I don't have it yet. I'll put a little X here if I already have the item, so those costs are locked in. That gives me my total cost here, and here's my target sale price. So let's say I'm shooting for an ASRock H610 motherboard, but I find something on eBay that's even cheaper, and I get it for $55. So my target budget was $70. I actually get it for $55. I'll plug in $55. Now I can kind of keep live track of what my projected profit will be at that sale price. And this way I keep everything organized. So again, I don't end up with 4 power supplies and only 1 motherboard. Like, that's not helpful. So I try to get everything that I need in relatively short order so then I can complete the build, get it for sale, and get it sold. So I use this spreadsheet here just as a way of tracking all of my different parts and potential builds and to price them out. Or what I might also do is when somebody lists a computer for sale and I want to put a value on parts to see if it's something I want to buy, I'll come in here and I'll enter the parts and what I think they're worth and the total value here. So then when I'm going to make this person an offer based on what's in their PC, I've got a pretty good idea of what I could buy the individual parts for and know that, okay, I want to pay less than what the parts are worth. So once I have all the parts put together for the build, I will then obviously put it all together, test it, and assemble it. One of the ways that I test a computer out first before I put it all together is I'll put the main components, the power supply, the motherboard, processor, RAM, graphics card, hook it all up outside of a case, pop a jumper switch on it and fire it up and see if I can get it to work. It's really, really easy to do. These little jump switches here, very cheap on Amazon. I think I got a 4-pack of them for like $8 or something. Really, really easy. You just hook it up to the power switch on the motherboard, switch it on, and you can test without having to put everything into the build, take it all out, etc. Once the build is all together and functioning fine, there's a couple things that I'm going to do to make sure that it's running well. First thing I'm going to do is I'm going to install a hardware monitor so I can keep an eye on all of the different components, make sure everything's running at good temperatures, good clock speeds, appears to be working well. And I'm going to run a series of benchmarks. Typically, I like to use the Unigen benchmarks. So I will run it through Unigen Heaven, Unigen Valley, and Unigen Superposition, as well as Cinebench, because there I can test CPU and GPU as well. And oftentimes I will post a picture of those results onto the ad itself, as you can see here, and that will just show somebody exactly what the specs are and the performance. The Unigen ones will give you an average FPS. People like to see that sort of thing, and just make sure that it's a decent performing machine. Now, sometimes there are issues with GPUs or even processors getting really, really hot. On this last build that I did here, it's a Ryzen 3600. For some reason, with a stock cooler, that thing was getting crazy hot when the CPU was getting utilized. It was getting up into the 90-degree Celsius area, which technically is fine, but I didn't feel good about it. So swapped out the cooler, put on this Wraith Prism cooler. Temperatures are now down around 60 degrees. So is that a little bit more than I wanted to do for that particular build? Yeah, but it was the right thing to do, and it'll keep that processor running much cooler. Sometimes GPUs get a little bit on the toasty side. If I'm running them through one of the benchmarks and they're getting up into the 70s and mid-high 70s, they probably will end up needing to be repasted. Sometimes the thermal pads are worn out. So I'll go ahead and break the GPU down, clean it up, repaste it, put it back in and retest it, and make sure that it is running good. So there's 2 big mistakes that people make that I see that will prevent them from being successful selling computers. Here's the first mistake: having a PC that looks absolutely terrible, or you don't take good pictures of what you've got. So take a look at this one, for example. There's just cables going everywhere. It just looks like an absolute mess. It's dusty. This one here has a candle right next to it. That's not a good idea. Stickers all over it. You can see it's absolutely filthy. Here's another one with cables going everywhere, and it just looks awful. And it's no wonder that nobody's going to buy this thing. The second major mistake that I see people making is overpricing their stuff. And this is something you want to really be conscious of. Now, these are pretty extreme examples, but you still want to make sure that you're adequately priced because the market will tell you if you're not. Here we have an old i7 4770 with an RX 580. Nothing special about it. They're asking $1,500. That's absolute insanity. Here you have for $800 a Ryzen 5 3600, so that's pretty good. 32 gigs of RAM, that's all good. B450, but whoa, it's got a 1070 Ti. That is an old graphics card. I would not sell that for $800. That's more like a $500 PC. This one, pretty crazy. $1,500 for a 9700K with a 3060 Ti. Like again, that's a nice little build. Maybe a little bit too much graphics card for the processor, but $1,500, you're out of your freaking mind. And this one here, here's another crazy one. They say it's custom, so that's great. It started at $2,500. It's got a 12400F. It's got a B660 motherboard, a 3060 Ti. Like, those are all nice parts. Like, there's nothing wrong with that. I sold a similar computer to a kid at Christmas time for $750. So $2,000, $2,500, that person is absolutely out of their mind. So make sure you're picking your prices that are competitive in the market, giving people a good deal, and also giving you a pretty decent profit. Having those two kind of landmines out of the way of having a messy computer with poor pictures or being way overpriced, you've got your price locked in, your computer's clean and looking good. Now you got to take some pictures of it. I don't go too crazy with this. Some people will stage like plants and animals and stuff in their pictures. I don't do all that. I take a series of photos around the computer to get an idea of what it looks like. I'll do a video usually of it booting up, and that will answer any questions people have about it working. About a 30-second video or 20 seconds or whatever it takes for it to boot up. And then I'll post some pictures of benchmarks, and that's it. And that usually answers the questions that people have about frame rates and does it work and all of that. You can knock all those questions out before they even come. Here is two of my absolute favorite ads that I've seen on Marketplace. These are pure gold. Here you have a custom-built gaming streaming PC for $1,200. Okay, it looks like a stock photo. Wait a second. The description says it's not the actual picture. If you're serious, PM me and I'll send you pictures and videos. Like, what is that? Do you think anybody's going to reach out to this person who only says, if you're serious, will I give you pictures of my PC? That's insane. Here's another one where this guy, he's trying, but I don't think he's on the right track. He says he's a custom PC builder. For reference, he has zero feedback whatsoever from anybody, no reviews. He says, tell me what you want, I'll build it for you, any specific parts. You have to pay up front. He'll overclock it for $25. That's bizarre. And the picture, it's not a PC that I've built. This will change once I get a customer. So obviously when you're first starting out, you're not going to have feedback and stuff. But I would not lead with, hey, be my first customer at this. I've never done this before. So those are just two ads that I just found to be hilarious. And don't copy those ads. So that's a little bit about my process, how I go through actually finding the parts and doing everything, getting it all together. That's how I flip PCs. And I'm constantly learning as I go. But here are 5 tips that anybody can use to start out for yourself. First tip, identify what your goals are and stick to them. One of my goals was to start off with $250 and not to bring in any more new money. That was an important goal, and I've stuck to that. You want to make sure that you are having a direction that you're headed and always be getting closer to that goal, whether it's raising a certain amount of money or whatever. You want to upgrade so you can buy a new computer for yourself. Whatever your goal is, have a clear identified goal and stick to it. Number 2, I would absolutely encourage you to do a ton of research into your local market area. Look at what's selling, look at what people are buying, look at the price of individual components. What are those going for? You can use eBay to check for the values of things to see, okay, what are things selling for on eBay? Maybe it's better to go there. I have personally found better deals in my local area, but sometimes you can't get the parts that you want. So you have to go to eBay. So be aware of that and look at what other flippers are doing. I follow probably 8 or 9 of them on Facebook. And in fact, I've spoken with several of them and have had great conversations, and we've exchanged tips and advice um, because there's enough room for everybody to be successful flipping. So absolutely do some research into your area as well as learning about parts and costs and things before you get into it. Third tip, and probably one of the most important, is be organized and have a plan. Here is the spreadsheet that I use to track all of my PCs, sales, everything. I put the formulas in so that it does all the math for me. I keep track of my profit, everything. I make sure I plug it all into this spreadsheet, and that way I'm able to keep track of everything, and that helps keep me on task. Tip number 4, this is probably the most important one, and that is focus on good customer service. In my last video, I talked about how I gave some money to a purchaser who broke a RAM stick while they were fiddling around with the computer. I didn't have to do that, but I felt like that was the right thing to do. So I spent a little bit of my own money to help them out. Good customer service. You can see here that some people have told me, hey, my reviews are part of the reason why they reached out to me and it got me business, right? You can see right here, we appreciated your reviews, big part of why we reached out. So it paid off in that case. I got a sale on that one. Here are just a couple of the reviews that I've gotten. You can see here, this one says it was amazing, went past expectations, friendly, on time, and nice. That's all you have to do. You don't have to do anything crazy. Just be friendly, on time, and nice. This guy here says he loved it as his first PC. He liked how it looked, and he liked that I answered a lot of his questions and made it easy. People, especially people who aren't familiar with PCs, are going to have a lot of questions. So take the time and answer people's questions. This one here, great communication and responses, willing to answer questions and provide detailed information. Easy purchase, right? I try to be as easy as I can and as forward and upfront as I can with people, set expectations for them so that they know what they're getting and are happy once they get it. And for tip number 5, it's kind of a 2-part tip. Number 1, be willing to try to negotiate with people, get good deals for yourself, and don't feel like you have to take every deal that comes along, especially in the beginning. I think that's a really surefire way to ensure that you end up with 4 motherboards and no power supplies, right? Like, plot out your builds, be organized, purchase the parts for the build, and sell. Once you get some money built up, then yeah, you're a little bit more able to jump on a deal like this one, where you can see here this person is selling a pre-built. They claim it has a 4070 in it, and I think they sold it for $400. When I saw that, I immediately reached out to that person. They never even responded, and it marked it sold like an hour later because obviously somebody else got to it before I did. But don't feel like you need to be at that point at the very beginning. Take your time. Don't overextend yourself. Stick to your money goals, whatever those are. Don't spend a bunch of money before you really kind of get a feel for the process. And do be willing to negotiate with people. Yeah, you're going to run into people like the clown from the last episode who gets super personal about it, but that's pretty rare. If people, usually the worst they'll do is just not respond if they're offended by your offer. So don't worry about it. It's the internet. Absolutely go back and forth with people, and lots of times it'll turn out really well in your favor. And I actually have a bonus tip for you. This is something that I just learned the other day while I was watching a video from Budgeteers. If you have not seen his channel about PC flipping, absolutely check it out. His production skills are incredible. Super smart guy. He's obviously very good at flipping, and he's really entertaining. Absolutely check his channel out. But the tip that he had for folks is after you make a sale, leave your ad up for another day or two just to generate interest. And I definitely find this to be true. I've got a PC that I'm supposed to be selling this evening. I made an agreement to sell to the guy a couple of days ago, but I don't mark it pending. I don't mark it sold until I actually have cash in hand, and I'm still constantly getting messages about it. Those are all good. If you've got a PC that you're about to sell or you've just sold and you get a message about it, hey, I'm sorry, I'm supposed to be meeting somebody today, or oh, I just sold it. If you're interested in a computer, though, let me know. Right? This is a way to potentially generate more customers for yourself. I think out of the 13 PCs I sold, I think I've had 4 commission builds, maybe 5. I'll have to look back at that. But those are from situations just like that, where you generate good conversation with somebody, talking about a different computer, which ultimately can lead to a commission build, which those are a ton of fun. I got all the way to the end of editing this video and I realized I never answered Stitch Custom's question about what I do to handle the OS side of things, even though I used that comment in the beginning of the video. So here's my quick answer. I use activated Windows on all of my builds without fail every time. And there's a bunch of different websites you can go to where you can get legitimate keys, and there are codes that you can use from some famous YouTubers. The one that I use personally is Digital Chillmart, and that was recommended by Rutech. He's another great channel that I've watched a lot of, and I use them because I've just used them the whole time, not for any reason in particular. So, but that is how I handle Windows. I get a code from Digital Chillmart, get it activated, and that's how I handle it. I'm not sponsored by any of these websites. That's just what I do. So now on to my newest clown that I've come into contact with on Facebook Marketplace. So a little bit ago, I got this message here. It says, hey man, would you consider taking $400? I'll come pick it up today. I responded to him and I said, hey, yeah, I can do $425 if you are able to meet this evening. And after looking at his profile, it looked familiar to me. And I said, hey, I believe you bought a PC from me not long ago. He says, yeah, I can do $425. I'm going to think about it. And I did, and I believe my father came to pick it up, which is not true. I actually met him directly. I remember the interaction now, but it looked really, really familiar to me. So I went back and looked up the old Marketplace ad and our messages to each other. Here's the ad right here. It's a Ryzen 5 3600 and 2070 Super. And you can see right here that it was 10 weeks ago that I marked it as sold. And here was the messages between us. He says, hey, will you take $580 cash? I said, yeah, I could do $600 cash and meet you tomorrow. And at that point, I looked at his profile, and that's when I left him with this comment. Hey, it looks like you also sell PCs. Why are you buying one from me? Because I thought that was interesting. And he says it's going to be a personal PC for me. He doesn't feel like building one for his personal. I thought it was kind of weird, but, hey, whatever, if he's willing to buy it and it works for me, then I'm willing to sell it to him. So then I went back through his ads and, this computer here, which sold 2 weeks ago, looks mighty familiar. In fact, I'll put them up here right next to each other. Turns out this dude bought and then resold my computer. He added like a mouse and a keyboard or whatever, some random junk, and then listed it for $850. I've never seen that before, but dude's actually reselling my PC. What a clown. This guy is definitely my newest clown of Facebook Marketplace. Well deserved, buddy. As always, I appreciate you watching. If you liked the video, please subscribe, leave a like, comment, and let me know if you have any questions about flipping PCs or want to share any stories or clowns you've run across in your journey flipping PCs. Thanks for watching.